Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly social reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to share their work with us. And it's Friday again, so let's get this fucking moving here. So Sam is up first tonight, excuse me.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello?
Sam, how's it going?
It's great.
Great? Okay. What are you going to read for us tonight, man? Oh, are you still with us, Sam? Did he just drop? I think he just dropped. Uh-oh.
Oh, oops. Yeah, I think I don't see him here anymore.
Okay, can I just let everybody know then?
Uh-huh.
Jan was talking to me about like, wow, it's so crazy putting faces and voices to all these Twitter handles.
Uh-huh.
Will, you have the energy of a youth pastor.
Well, I was, you know what, my mom would be very flattered to hear you say that. Be very happy.
Like when my brother saw this over my shoulder and was like, yeah, that's exactly what I expected them to look like.
Oh goodness. So
Guitar in a church.
yeah, I wish I could play guitar. Unfortunately, the only one who can play guitar just fucking vanished just as it was his turn to read. Excuse me. Oh boy, what are we gonna? Okay.
And
All
Rudy,
right.
she's surprised you're black.
Really? I sound white on the phone, so
All right.
that's my greatest skill.
You put all your points into that when you rolled up your character, huh?
Pretty much.
Okay. All right. You know what? We will, and David isn't here. So Rudy, you're up first. Now you have a piece by Jan that you're going to read, and then a piece of your own that you're going to read, right?
Yeah, I'm going to read Jan's piece. It's called Sick Again. And I think this is going to be published somewhere. Oh, Jan wants to introduce the piece, I think. So I'll step aside here.
Yeah, Jan, go right ahead. So I'm not sure if so Jan is talking in the chat. So I guess Jan, do you want to talk on the Zoom, or do you want me to just read what you're typing in the chat? Read it. Okay. Man, this may be the biggest shit show at the beginning of it. I feel like I'm being trolled. Okay. 1 second. Okay, so Jan says, boy, oh boy, can I talk a little bit for a second? This piece is going to be an expat, or expat 5, I guess, depending on how you pronounce it. It's inspired by Peter Sotos. I hope I got that name right. I will repeat what I said to Rudy. I think Peter Sotos is a very important writer. I am the president of his fan club. I would also have sex with him. Thank you for making me read that. Read it out, William. I asked Rudy to read this because his voice is deep and the opposite of mine.
Keep reading.
Okay. Oh, now, okay. Adam says, everybody blow up the chat. Mullane says, poggies. Unity says, foo, foo, foo. Jan says, I pronounce it exput. Exput. Mullane says, who? Jeff says, Peter Sotos, lol. Jan says, I would say content warning, but everyone here has been canceled. Fair enough. Adam says, oh no. Adam says, my name is William Duryea, and I hereby devote my entire estate to Adam Johnson. Yeah, good. Yeah, sure, Adam, you can have all of my college loan debt and all of the expat books that Manny sent me. Okay, I'm not gonna do any more of these. I'm not doing that one, Jan. Fuck you. They're looking for me to say something like that. Okay, so anyway, Rudy, I'm turning it over to you. You can read the piece now.
Sorry, I was coughing. Okay, so this piece
Yeah, it's
is
hard, right?
it is. It's hard out here. This piece is by Jan. It's they mentioned that it's going to appear in Expat. It's called "Sick Again." You're being sold again. This is what happened, is happening, and will happen 10,000 times over by the time your bones finally disintegrate in the new hole your family had dug. Functionally the same, but more accessible, nameable and separate from the one the police found. Something to be cherished, loved, visited, shit on, cried over, mourned, chipped at, lovingly taken care of until decades later, you're a story to be sold. No, not even sold, free. Two chattering morons going over every single meaningless detail in what was once your life until it passed into the public domain. Say it's okay. You're one of the lucky ones, always relative to someone worse off, someone who is still alive and pleading. Words on a police report that would nevertheless jump out and bite your parents if they ever read them. Post-mortem mutilation. Is it okay if I do this? The exact same thing? Public autopsy. You're no different. Flatten you into something somehow more subhuman than how he saw you. Every little facet becoming a minor detail in the terminal event of your life, defined wholly and inseparably by the he, him. This is for you. Remember you? Defined by the event. It takes over, erasing everything else, every cute little personality quirk or funny anecdote or taste in music. You're not a person anymore. If you ever were to anyone outside of the vanishingly small number of people who knew you as a person and not just a headline about how the former wasn't there anymore, or how badly it was mangled, or what happened to it, stabbed, strangled, shot in the back of the head, shredded, mutilated, tortured to death so easily, hoping it was enough for them when it never would have been. Not in a million years, definitely not in the next 5.5 minutes. Sent home to mommy and daddy in the headlines. Something not even a head, sometimes not even a headline. Infecting every prior moment, it metastasizes, spreading backwards, forwards, every direction, every aching, precious moment, every home movie, every photo they took of you the day of your first communion, it all turns cancerous. That little wave you do on the tape, turning backwards in the church pew to look at dad holding the camera, turning into something almost worse than what happened, something diseased, sick, a memory married to what was going to happen to you, a tumor that needs to be excised from memory before the current absence turns it against them, become white noise. That sickness, that terrible cloying sickness, always there, always an option, always a choice, white hot under the skin, steaming up onto the surface and reaching fever pitch after God knows how long spent going over the details, obsessing, thinking how it could have been worse, how it could have been better. That pinpoint vulnerability made bluntly clear to everyone else, a claw hammer 10, 12 times before the television finally turns off forever. Play by play. The reason it's them and not me, always combed over in pornographic detail, never matter of fact, always that didactic curiousness and sometimes joking. Hands off pornography, nauseating like all the near universal constants that go unacknowledged, the knowing that a higher than believable number of men are pedophiles. I have a pretty daughter. I also have a gun, a shovel, and an alibi. 5 things you should know about my daddy. He is number 1, he is an excellent marksman. Number 2, he has a shovel in a backyard. Number 3, he has anger issues. Number 4, sometimes he masturbates after smelling my dirty underwear. And the boring casual sadism, usually more banal and trite, kinds learned secondhand from porn. We should try anal, they say, or I want to finish on you, usually the face, or not even ask and just do it. Is it okay if I choke you? Can I hold this knife to your neck while we fuck? Grabbing my head and forcing it into their unwashed, stinking genitalia, The pain and humiliation is the point, not that they'd ever admit it, even to themselves. You bag groceries and you're convinced that the world is ending. The most recent addition to a long, pathetic list of mostly one-sided romantic longings for older men dating back to elementary school. First, the bearded priest who stuttered through his sermons, horrible at public speaking, one of 7 adults that I knew the name of. Worst, the 80-year-old cook, short, always shouting in some fucked up back of the restaurant Creole, Polish, and English. You're the most handsome man I've ever seen in my entire life. You share a first name with one of my favorite writers, and you come with the unsettling realization that my private life and fantasies are near identical to yours. That they were always boring, just not to the intended audience. That everything we say when we're together about the other is cliche and gleaned from an unconsented lifetime spewed of film and television. When there isn't enough time to think of something clever or unique to say because the personal is never public unless something has gone horribly wrong. I don't think you know how much you meant to me, P. A year later, you trip in a Salvation Army store and your head hits the sharp edge of a table wrong. I'm stuck in Scranton and hear about it from your brother. I'll never know if you spent at least a minute frothing and seizing up on the floor while a bunch of bug-eyed alarmed bystanders crowd around you. One of them probably crouched down next to you like that'll do something. Or maybe you were dead before the back of your head thudded against the ground. Or maybe you died in the hospital a few days later. You're too pedestrian, and who would give a shit anyways? You weren't young and your problems weren't 10% as sympathetic as someone who's been beatified in the near effortless bowel movement of true crime podcasts, books, etc. No one can remark how pretty you are. They didn't make you into garbage. Just one more angel in heaven. Less than absolute universal meaning, and it exposes itself for what it is. Make dead children into a narrative, one with camera-friendly, grieving parents whose perfect fucking lives were ripped in half with banal, malicious ease by lone psychopaths, like opening a letter or turning the lights off, a name on a list. Here you are. Father's fear is confirmed. Body at redacted home is son. It's not fair. It never was supposed to be. They always tell themselves with the perennial focus on him. Dead kids are always secondary, always anecdotes. The real questions are for him. Did he have a sense of humor? Was he quiet? Did his neighbors like him? What was he like? Did they know he was fucking boys? Well, what about girls? Did they hear anything? Why didn't they tell anyone? Did it smell? Did his behavior become more erratic as time went on? Well, what about his job? Did his coworkers like him? Did they think he was odd? What about his parents? Did he torture animals? Did he start fires? Did he wet the bed? How old? When did he first do it? What came before that? Was it sexual? Did it start off like that? Was it an accident initially? Who was his youngest? How many? When? Where? How did he feel about it? Did he enjoy it? Was there any level of remorse? What about prison? Did he accept the sentence? Was he regretful? Did he paint while he was waiting to die? Where can I buy one? Did his lawyers file any appeals? What kind of defense did they use? Did he plead guilty? What about the psychologists? Did they diagnose him with anything? And they talk about each question at length. What made you like this? Why do you think it's okay to make money off of this? Do you think you're a good person? Do you wonder how the families feel? How do you think they'd feel about you? How do you think they'd feel about me? The $3 million house he lives in doesn't bother me. It's the cousins in Germany he loves to brag about, including the necessary dick swinging about visiting some dreary jizz-stained brothel that he always neglects to include was busted for sex trafficking as recently as last month. And the fact that he thinks I'll be impressed that he pays for something I hate. That he spent his 20s visiting a succession of sex trafficking hubs, Mexico, Albania, Ukraine, the Philippines, each worse than the last one. Cheap, degrading, omnipresent, if you know where to look. almost always worse than expected, inspiring that gut level revulsion and disgust that you can't rationalize because you know on some level it isn't up to them. Pangs of sympathy, empathy, teeth gritting horror at how bad things could get, how much I know about the Nordic model doesn't matter if it ever did. The newly rich moron doesn't know that it's frankly fucking pathetic that he was at any point in time a paying customer. His bedroom is a complete mess, and even though he's lived here for 3 years, it still looks like he's in the middle of moving in. When he's using the bathroom, I scan his shelves and find dried cum on one of the kitschy pieces of plastic junk he just can't stop himself from buying. I realize that he might have AIDS, almost definitely does, that typical combination of venereal disease and raw throbbing stupidity, likely to get mad at me, mad if I say no, possibly violent. So I start panicking and leave without putting on my coat, walking home 8 miles through the shitty, soulless exurb he lives in that eventually gives way to depressing post-war tract housing. He had already been dead for 3 days where they finally caught him. The last one on the list, the end of the line. He was unlucky. 3 kids at home who don't have a dad anymore. He decapitated their dad's corpse the day before the police came, already starting to lose color and reek. What interests me about him is, why was he there? The typology doesn't add up. He killed queers, not dads. What a terrible way to come out of the closet. There's one more angel in heaven. There's one more star in the sky. The man sitting across from me on the L train is nodding off, and when he isn't, he's staring blankly at the floor. I keep looking over at him, at his hands, which are necrotic, I'm sorry, not oozing or bleeding pus or anything cinematic, just rotting, cracked and pitted, black around the center and cherry red around the edges, unmoving. I imagine him in the hospital having them amputated, being sawn off and thrown into garbage bin. His face mask keeps falling down, exposing the pubic junky beard that rings around his equally rotting mouth. His glasses make me picture a straight-A student smiling for a graduation picture, the possibility of college, the train wreck life he was always going to get coming screeching towards him. What was it? I realized that maybe with a set of dentures after they rip every rotting tooth out of his mouth in prison, like my brother, and clean flesh and blood, although not ruling out the possible appeal of prosthetic hands. He's attractive. There's still something left in his eyes, something human, something pleading for a way out. When he gets out at Allegheny, snapping upwards in a swift jerking motion like a marionette being pulled to life, and stumbles out the door, I let out a short sigh of relief. But it's fun to think about being with a probably homeless heroin addict on the train, preferably in an empty car, preferably in a world devoid of human life, except for the two of us, probably around 7 p.m. in late March, on an overcast day, not raining yet, but the threat of it. Go home and think about it there. 3 all-American boys, apple-cheeked, probably blonde, probably blue-eyed, their whole lives ahead of them, 2nd or maybe 3rd or 4th grade, their half-baked lunch period daydreams on what they want to be when they grow up, just starting to become realistic enough to point towards something that can be encouraged, only a few Christmases away from finding out that Santa isn't real, dead in a drainage ditch, one of them castrated, all of them naked, traces of sperm on their turned out clothes, each tied up with 3 different knots. Body 21 was in the crawl space, somewhere in the ballpark of 14 to 24 years old, still unidentified, still his. No remains were ever found. And that's the piece.
Holy shit. First, that fucking rocks. First of all, though, I talk sometimes about like the serendipity of Misery Loves Company and how there'll be these weird like moments of like I don't know, like where the universe kind of comes together. But we were just talking about true crime shit before we started before we started the reading and before we started recording. So that's it's kind of it's kind of wonderful that the first piece that actually succeeded in being read tonight would be about true crime. But this is such a phenomenal like meditation on like the true crime fascination. Now I've been watching some really shitty, slimy true crime YouTube channels lately, I'm afraid to say. And it's fascinating to me. And I think Jan really gets at it in this piece, like what is like the human drive to consume this shit? Is it pure sensationalism, or is there like some real desire to confront mortality and to confront this horror in some way? And I like the way this piece really takes apart the like both like the like sickly, icky kind of like predatory like aspects of true crime, like predatory obviously on behalf of the killer, but also in behalf of the audience, right? And kind of raises those questions without just becoming like moralistic, like fist shaking about like how true crime is this degrading and like exploitative genre, right? And the way that it then goes from there into like the personal existential questions, like the personal fixation with like the fear of death, and with like looking around, like just like the bit in the subway at the end, like just noticing the rot in your surroundings, and the way the personal anecdotes and the personal pieces are woven into this like true crime tapestry. And like, oh man, the shit about like the contrast between like the banality of normal death, right? Normal unrecorded death that's still incredibly tragic for the families, and like these sensationalized murders, and like the part about like how the fixation is always on the killer, right? And the killer's like personality and psychology, and is the killer charming, or they, that kind of, I don't know. It's all very good. It's really good, and it's structured in a way that transcends like think piecery, that becomes really meditative and really personal and really interesting. So it's a great fucking piece, Jan, I think.
Yeah, Jan, first off, I just want to say I hope I did your piece justice by reading it. It really there's a part in there of the another angel in heaven stuff, and you showed me the video last night of the musical that was from. But I think that like that in a way it's interspersed with the rest of the piece. Yeah, it's Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I was thinking about singing that part, but I wasn't sure if it would be appropriate. I wasn't sure about your taste and stuff, but it's really good because it's a good like interlude between like I love things that juxtapose like things. I love when things are like set, are set to juxtapose, and that is really a great juxtaposition. But what William said about like the questions were my favorite part of this, because like they really get like, it's like the way they're a barrage in the text, like the way that it's literally in the text, like just one after another after another after another. And I really just the idea of like serial killers as kind of a fetish object that you get at so well, or like a literal fetish object. Like it's a really damning piece, I guess, for certain parts of our society, the media included, but not just that, but everybody's fixation on that kind of stuff. It's just, and it really brings it home in a way that's not think PC or like William said, like really like pretentious or anything like that. It's really good. I really love this piece. I hope I read it well.
You did. You read it very well, Rudy. You should have sung those parts, though. You absolutely should have. But no, it was great delivery, Rudy. It was. And you're up now.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna demonstrate something. It's, I guess, poetry. I don't know. Let me just pull it up here. gonna demo some poetry. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen if that's okay. Okay. If I can figure out how to. God, they actually did change the buttons this time. I'm not sure. Okay, so sharing my screen. I'm gonna optimize. I don't want to share the sound. That's fine. Okay, so can everybody see this screen?
Perfectly.
Excellent. Perfect. So let's see, whatever. Okay. So this is called, I'm not sure what this is called yet. I'm probably just gonna call it yet another stupid death of the author, just for the net hack joke. But basically what this is, so I've had this idea for a while of making something that takes poetry and changes the meaning of it based on what essentially where every letter and every word is a little dungeon that a little creature walks through. In this case, it's like a little will-o-wisp dude, and he walks through the thing, like, you know, he's fighting monsters and doing, you know, adventure-y things, I guess. But the key hook to this, I guess, is that you enter a poem, a 6-word or six each thing is 6 characters, and you do that 6 times. You enter that, and then this thing will run, and it'll essentially make it so that it generates some meaning out of the guy's experience in the dungeon. So I'll just start it off, and I'll talk while I start it off. So which should I read? Should I do one about Kennedy? Should I do one about Chief Keef, or should I do one about the KGB? The KGB one I put on my Twitter today, but whatever. What do you guys think? Or should I do one?
Definitely Chief Keef.
Chief Keef.
Oh no,
All
wait,
right.
there's some. Oh yeah, it's definitely. I'm looking in the chat, and Chief Keef is winning right now.
Okay, excellent. So as I load this up, this is a little. I can show you. I'm not sure if you can see this, but oops. Oh no, I can't. No. Okay, but this is a poem I wrote about Chief Keef. So what's going to happen here is basically it's going to generate the dungeon based on the words of the poem. So each word, every 6 characters, is a room, is a little dungeon basically for this little wisp creature or whatever to go through. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but he's flying through the dungeon, and everything he's doing in here is kind of towards the goal of getting to the end of the poem. So if he gets to the end of the poem without being killed, then your intent as an author, you know, everything that you basically wanted for the poem, which you can specify through in the Word document or in the text document itself. All the things you specified in there will be read to the player. But if they die in the dungeon, then it will cross those things out and put its own interpretations of things into there. So oops, and it looks like he actually got stuck there. Uh-oh. Actually, let me redo that again. Still kind of working on this. I'm actually not going to do that one. I'm going to do a different one because I think that one tends to get stuck. I had this problem earlier, and I'm not sure what happened. So anyway, let's do the Kennedy one. How about that? This one has a little bit of a different layout too. So I'll show you a different layout to the dungeon. But basically all these things in here are like little monsters and little items that this little wisp dude can pick up. So the core idea of this is that you want to get your guy through the dungeon so that your interpretation of the poem wins out, as opposed to the interpretation that the program will give you if the little wisp dude dies. And I know I'm not explaining that real great, but basically there's all these obstacles in here, and you'll see that some of them, possibly on the next screen here, will actually kill or disable the wisp, and that might have some effect on the meaning of the poem. Again, not sure if I'm explaining it great, but let me speed this up a little bit and also speed up the time so that he doesn't take forever to go through the thing. Or you can slow it down too. So as you can see, some of these monsters do different things, like those dogs slow down his sword, the movement of his sword. And this is the boss here. The boss spawns whenever there's 6 characters in the word. So right now this boss might kick his ass. He has 4 armor. Oh no, he killed the boss. So cool. So he's going through the dungeon, going through picking up armor, killing dogs, all the things you do in a dungeon, right? I mean, every dungeon has some dog killing in it.
What are the
And
words? What was the first word and what is this word?
the first word was, I think, this is the Kennedy one. So it was GG Che Guevara, like good game Che Guevara. I don't want to explain it too much. That one is deaded. I don't know how well you can see it because it might be kind of blurry on your end. This one is hijack. And
Yeah,
he's
it's
gonna
pretty
go.
clear.
Sweet, yep.
Yeah, I can
cool.
see it. It's just the first two weren't like words, so I was confused, but now I understand. I
Gotcha,
can see
gotcha.
hijack clearly.
Okay. So this one, he's going through the dungeon. I'll speed it up a little bit. But this boss might actually kill him. The boss kind of spawns on. Oh no, we killed the boss. Hey, we might actually get off with a and the vampire just took his shield. So we'll see what happens here. Keep going, buddy. Hell, you might actually get to see my interpretation of the poem. This one says hi CIA. Let's see, I'm just gonna speed him through this. Going through the portal, hitting that. He didn't get any more armor, but as you can see, he's leveling up. So that affects how much armor you start with. That means he has a better chance to go at the boss. So this is the boss here. Let's see if he can make it through this one with he'll have a shield. So or not, because he just hit a vampire. So cool. Now that boss is shooting stuff at him, and if he gets too close to the boss, he might get shredded by these little things here, these little I don't know, shield shredder things. So let's see if you can get through and either
What
kill
does
the
this
boss.
what does this screen say?
This says deface,
Oh, okay. All right.
and he just got through it, I think. Yep. Now he's going to open the chest, I think. Yep. Okay, there you go. Speed it up. Oh, and he's kind of stuck there. Okay, yeah, there you go. Okay, so I think this last one is the last screen. So this says a jack. And I'll let you see the full poem as soon as he gets through the poem here. It looks like he actually completed the poem, so there won't be any changes to my meaning, but that won't happen every single time you go through. Yeah, so let me stop the share here. First I'm gonna refresh this, actually. And then I'm going to pull up the actual poem. I wonder if you can see that here. Can you see the screen I'm on right now, or do you still see the poem thing?
I see something, but it's not. No, you know what? The screen you're on is just overlaid on it, but it's blocking it out, so we can't see.
Oh, you can't see it. Okay, that's fine. I'll just read it to you. So this is a poem about Kennedy, basically, John F. Kennedy. So it says, the poem goes: GG Che, deaded, hijack, hi CIA, deface a jack. So my interpretation of this was, GG, good game, Ernesto Che Guevara, he's dead, rip. Deaded, they killed him dead, raid. Hijack, and then this is kind of a reference. The hijack line is kind of a reference to Big Jim Garrison, the guy who said that like the CIA was, helped Oswald kill Kennedy and stuff. The Warren Report, all that shit. Hi CIA, that's another reference to the conspiracy. Deface, what I thought kind of like mark a card, pull a card, kill a president, defacing a card, and then because then you have a Jack, Jack Kennedy. So I'm going to try that again and see if we can get him to die. So let's try that again. Let's see if we can get him. Let's see if we can get it to kill, or get the dungeon to kill him, because that would actually make it so that it will show a different interpretation of those lines. Well, okay, fair enough. Let's see. So each 6-letter word has a chance to spawn the boss. That's why, and the boss currently in this version is the only thing that can actually kill you. So let's see if this boss can kill him. Nope, he got through it with 3 armor. Wow. Hijack. Okay, let's see if the boss will do him this time. I'm actually going to slow it down a bit so you can see. Oh, no, he got through the boss that time as well, too. Okay. Well, that being the case, you know what? Let me try a different one then. And see if we can actually get it to kill this dude. Which one should I do? Should I do the KGB one? KGB one is cool, but should I do that one or one about a Jedi or some kind of whatever? What do you think?
I think Adam had requested the KGB one before, so
Okay,
give that one a go.
let's go. So that says I hack. No monsters on this one that can kill, so I'm going to speed it up a little bit. And you see he's kind of getting stuck by that fog that the gelatinous cube or whatever kind of generates. So I hack KGB AI. He's going through. Oh no, he's got a sword. Uh-oh. Boss doesn't, that's not good for the boss, I guess. Deface. Now this one is going to spawn the boss. Let's get through and see how he only has 4 armor though, so let's see how he fares here. And I say he, but it's kind of a gender neutralist wisp or whatever. So, oh, killed the boss. Okay. Now there is one more boss in here. Deface. Jacked has a boss in it because that's a 6-letter word. He's got 4 armor, so I don't know. Unless the boss ranges him, it's going to be tough. So he killed the boss in that one too. So let me just, I'm going to actually exit this real quick. Or actually, I'm just going to go here. I'm going to take it to construct. Let's go. Take a guided tour. No thanks, not now. Free edition. Okay, I'm going to log in. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen so people don't steal my construct login information.
Damn it! I was totally
I know.
steal your Construct 3 login information.
Right, I know everybody wants it because everybody wants to be on Construct 3, the best game service ever that helps you make games, product placement. So let me get into this. Open that local file. Author dungeon. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into the debugger and kill the guy just outright so that you can see how it happens. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again. Here we go. Okay, and you can see all the little objects and shit here. But so which one? Okay, so we requested the KGB. So let's go to the KGB one, let's say. Speed her up. And I'm going to select the little wisp object. This is all his stats and shit. He's going to disappear because every screen it recreates him. So where should I kill him? Should I kill him now or should I kill him on like the 3rd word or so? How much interpretation? How far?
Now.
Kill him now. All right, let's do it. All right, so I guess I'm going to have to do it on this screen then. All right, so Wisp just bought it. All right, so this here is actually going to dial into a Wiktionary. Oh, there's my, so these are my original, and this is my original interpretation of the poem. So I hack is in computer shit. KGB AI, so the Russian intelligence service and artificial intelligence. Deface, which means vandalize. Jacked, which means a really big muscular person. AKA, so an AK-47 and a skilled person, so some dude who's really good with an AK-47. Bi-ace, bisexual and asexual. So the way I meant that is basically I hack into some Russian government archives and turn this really jacked Russian nationalist from an AK wielding dude into someone who's bisexual and asexual. It could cause some problems in Russia, I guess, current political climate. So let's see. So we died at Deface. So Deface should, that means that should, yep. So Wiktionary says that means mar. So that's essentially the same thing. I marred his image, but it could give me a different image. So Jack, let's see, broken. So that's a little bit different from, it's actually quite a lot different from really big muscular. It's actually almost the opposite. So that would be that interpretation. AKA pitcher. Huh, that's interesting. So what this is doing is selecting essentially random words. Well, it's selecting the word ace, say, from a Wiktionary, and it's looking up the definition, and it's replacing it with a random definition found. So a random version of the word, basically. So the word ace could mean, a skilled person, like a combat ace or whatever. Apparently, it can also mean a pitcher or a hole-in-one in golf or whatever. So let's see. I've seen that one before. Maverick. Okay. Oh, so that's interesting. So it kind of inverted those two there. So the way it's read now, it would be IHAC, hack is in computer shit, KGB AI, Russian intelligence service, deface, marring, a broken pitcher, Maverick. So it's not really exactly the same. I think it kind of preserved the meaning, but it also kind of fucked the meaning up. And the reason that it started it here is because the WISP made it to the third word, which is deface, or the third screen, which has the word deface on it. And so the WISP made it there, and that is basically that. And so the rest of the words are lost because, you only made it to the third level. So the rest of my meaning is obscured. Now, in the final version, what will probably happen is I'll redact these totally. So you won't even see what the author meant at all. So it'll just be like, oh, well, what did they mean? It's just whatever. And the final version, I think I'm going to have some way to link this to, you can send somebody a link and it already has one pre-generated in here. So that's that, I guess. But if anybody has any questions or whatever, I'm totally here for it. I intend to use this as some kind of poetry writing tool or something that can help skew author intent or whatever you want to do. Ace baseball pitcher, yeah.
Man, so this is totally fucking wild. This is insane. Not only is each set of inputs necessarily potentially unique, but you can get a totally different run then from the same set of inputs. Like the same
Right.
6-word, the same 6 words could generate a completely different run.
Right, a different result because they could die at any time. And also, I should say, and probably only Mullane might understand this, but it uses a random seed that's based on the location of the WISP on the screen. So the farther they are on the screen, the position on the screen initiates a random seed, basically. So all the randomly generated stuff, say the monsters, behavior, and all the other stuff like this, the ending stuff that looks up words to replace your words with, that's all randomly generated. So it uses a seed. So if the WISP gets to say the word deface and then dies on the F, the seed is going to be the same there. So it's going to be like, if he dies on the F, you're likely to get the same result as if he died on the F in another version. Does that make sense? Like a random seed,
I think it makes sense.
So the results are kind of, Dokapon Kingdom is a good example of this. Like, how the
So
spinner.
what you're saying is it's not true randomness then. It's
it's
Minecraft, like a different.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Okay.
Kind of like that. Yeah.
I understand.
So, but you can get similar results.
But the results are replicable in
They're
reality.
replicable.
It's not truly random because this by seed, you basically, like in Minecraft, there are however quintillion fucking number of worlds,
Yeah.
right? There's billions and billions of possible, I assume, like worlds, but you could generate the same world that someone else played by using if you knew their seed and you
That's exactly
that seed.
That's exactly right. Yeah. But that's not accessible in this one to the player. It's just basically like if you get it to die in the same way or in the same position, you could get a similar result to someone else, basically.
Gotcha. That's interesting. That's wild fucking shit. I'll have to play with that. I love the idea of turning a poem into basically a like roguelike dungeon where you get loot and maybe you survive the poem and maybe you don't. And having that linked to interpretation, like, do you make it through the poem? Do you like, do you grok it? Do you understand it?
Yeah.
Or did your attention just die somewhere halfway through?
Right. Exactly.
And you didn't really get what the guy was trying to say.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of authorial,
Some
intent.
nights of misery loves company. I'm the little wisp, and I've just been slain, and I'm like, that was great.
But no, like there are also going to be some things like that change the meaning in other ways. So like
Mhm.
I was thinking of having like a monster that gives a curse or something and curses
Uh-huh.
a certain word and says like, hey, it'll highlight this word in purple, and that means that you have to interpret the word in the worst possible way in your mind or something. So like let's say you have a poem that's like groom the pony, I mean everybody I think knows where this is going.
Yeah.
So the word groom gets cursed, and I don't even have to say it, do I?
Yeah, no,
Like, I mean,
we get it. We
all right,
get
so,
it. We get it.
uh,
Jan says, "Oh no."
oh no. No, Jan also said that the wisp should be nerfed, and yes, I have considered. The problem is there's not all the letters are here, and not all the monsters are here. I'm actually only working with the letters A through K because I haven't made the rest of them yet. But the wisp will definitely have a lot more trouble when there's a full alphabet here, I think, because every letter has a monster spawn on it, or has a chance to spawn a monster. It can spawn monsters that don't belong on the letter, but there's less of a chance. And if, like, say the dog spawns on D, right? So he can spawn other places, but he mostly spawns on D. It's the same with the item. So the armor mostly spawns in A's, the sword mostly spawns in S's,
That
and that's
makes
going to be
sense.
So it'll be I will nerf the wisp definitely.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense, man. That cool shit, man. As usual,
Thanks.
cool shit. And we managed to stonewall for just long enough for Gigi to get here, which is good because
Oh yeah.
this list is already so confused. And Gigi was next after you, and I didn't know what I would do if I had to skip him again. Anyway, Gigi, you're here just in time to read.
Hello.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Going all right. Looks like I came here just in time. I just got a couple of poems. They're shitty and they'll be quick. So there's a link. I'll just read these and then we can get on to the next person. So this first one is called Edit. Maybe you can just paint over the outlet instead of fixing the wiring. Maybe the next tenant won't notice. Second one is called Milk Toast, you fucking idiot, not milk toast. Holy shit, I'm gonna stain a window with my brain. I am anti-butt sex because I'm morally opposed to it. I'm morally opposed to the idea of trying to jam something into the hole of a toothpaste tube, a faucet, swing a bucket and lose its water. Physics being violated. I feel if I saw physics, if I saw science being violated, I would have a moral crisis. Last one is called A Sharp Decline in Quality. Rubbing another glass with my eyelashes. Hold my hand, please. Let me borrow your eyes. That's all I got.
Wow, man, holy shit. Holy man, I totally missed that last poem because I was dying from the second one. But no, man, these are great. These are great. The second one is hilariously funny. And kind of turns the like discourse about that topic on its head in an in an absurd way. But man, once again, I really dig the fact that you're continuing to play and experiment with your voice here, right? The second poem, yes, that's it's very funny and it's very much a GG poem. But the first poem and the third poem are very, very minimalistic, but minimalistic in a way that's different, I think, than a lot of your previous writing. And I love the dash that you've left at the end of Edit here, which I think is a really nice touch. I'm getting slightly distracted by the fact that we have OK Donkey. We've got people pretending to be lit mags in the participants list. But man, Gigi, no, I'm very much digging what you're doing here. And
Thank you. Sobriety has made me a strange person.
Isn't that how it is? Just keep it up for I don't know, 38 more years and you'll see why I'm such a basket case.
Thanks for letting me read, man.
Yeah, thank you for reading,
nice
man.
comments, too.
Yeah, thank you, Gigi. Okay. Up next is Keith. And Keith, Keith actually asked to read his piece until you got here, Gigi. So this one I think is dedicated just to you, possibly.
Hell yeah.
Keith.
Okay. All right. Thanks, William. Before I read my short story tonight, I'd like to share some words with everyone. I remember Ferris once saying, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. 24 months ago, I stopped and looked around. And I discovered that I'd been missing some things that I didn't even know existed. After surviving the first 6 months of COVID, I realized that I was still alive. I had survived my first imagined death. I had an epiphany. I was going to banish my miseries and enjoy the miseries of others. Where better to begin than with a group of self-proclaimed, or guilt by association, outsiders. I knew from that one word in the host introduction that I had found a home. And his second word, transgressive, well, that's a complicated word. It's kind of like defining pornography. For the first year of my new life, I hid behind the letter K until I learned how to make a Zoom avatar with a cat picture. Every Friday night, I just sat back, held my phone, and watched and listened. For a while, I was a self-proclaimed reader, not a writer. And then things changed. You may be wondering if my avatar is my cat's picture, but it's not. The only cats that I have today live in Colorado and New York in my imagination. Occasionally, I get to see a glimpse of them. I've got 2 cats in New York, one near the city and the other in upstate. And the one in Colorado, well, he's living the good life in Boulder County. When I die, I hope to be reincarnated as a cat. In my new life, around my 1-year anniversary last year, I came out of hiding and read a few of my writings, not just to myself, but to you, real people living in little squares inside my phone. At that point in time, only a few people even knew that I'd been dabbling with writing poems and short stories for several months. Honestly, before my new life, I never really liked, much less wrote, poetry. I rarely read anything other than nonfiction, and most certainly had not written a story since high school. I didn't even know what some words meant, like autofiction and creative nonfiction. Talk about a transformation. What happened? Anniversaries seem to be a big part of American life and culture. Hallmark loves them. Don't you just hate it when you feel like you're succumbing to being a part of the masses? In some ways, though, we are all a part of the mess of the masses. I just like to live in denial. So around this time last year, my first anniversary, I did what I knew was the right thing to do. I wrote and read a thank you story to my new family. I also compiled a list of things that I'd learned about writing in my new life, and I may have read that too. I don't remember. Now, those first months of reading, I was literally an unmedicated nervous wreck. I was always stone cold sober, but I was being tested, that's for sure. My anxieties were off the chart. I was back in school taking tests. But don't get me wrong, I believe that it's always good to have a little bit of anxiety. We don't want to get too comfortable. And that's where we are at tonight, a little bit more uncomfortable than usual. For my 2-year anniversary, I could read another thank you story for all of the experiences we've shared over the last year. Or I could bore you with another list of more things I've learned about writing, but I'm pretty sure that everyone here already knows those things. Unsurprisingly, though, I've gone down another road recently, and I'm driving really close to the yellow line. I'm pushing the edge. Tonight, I'm going to share a new short story that I wrote this week. There have been times this year that have been very difficult for us, and we are all trying to heal. I needed a change of pace. I'm likely not the only one. Tonight's new story may offer a change and a respite, if only for a few moments. So, I'm dedicating this story to all of the outsider, transgressive writers of Misery Loves Company. It's my 2-year anniversary present to everyone. Tonight's story is titled Dissecting the Smiles. Thanks, everybody. Now, let's dissect some smiles together. When they finished the day's dissection, they set down their instruments, tidied up loose ends, and together walked up the stairs leading away from the basement. They were both feeling the urges. It would be a while before they were satisfied. They had learned so much about each other, how much they had in common, how much they loved to explore bodies. One day, their secrets would be discovered, and they would no longer be living in anonymity. They would make other people's lives better, and together they would know true happiness and joy. Gently, as she sat atop him on the bed, she placed her hands on his cheeks and slowly moved her fingertips towards his lips. Softly, she massaged each side of his lips in tiny circles, anchoring her thumbs underneath his jaw. As she moved closer, she could feel his breath upon her face. It was alive, warm, fragrant, inviting, felt good. A rush went through her body. "You know what I want," she whispered, staring into his deep blue eyes. He could feel a stirring in his loins, and he knew what she knew. "I do know what you want, and unlike George, I can perform. I know what makes you happy, what makes you feel really good. George never shows you that kind of happiness." She moved closer. They were almost joined. She said, "We love George, but let's not talk about him right now. He cannot help his condition. There was a time that he was better, we both know that. But in his condition today, it's just not fair to George." He smiled, and she smiled back. He could feel his love growing. She was very special, and she knew it. He felt her hands moving away, her lips clumping closer to his. He knew her dreams, her desires, her targets. As they kissed passionately, he felt her weight pressing upon his chest. He knew what was coming. They began to separate. Supporting her weight with her hands on his chest, he felt her rising from his body. As she reached towards the nightstand, he could feel the increased pressure of her body against his member. Their passions grew hotter as their bodies began to respond to the friction of her movement. After what seemed like an eternity, she retrieved the foiled packages from atop the nightstand. Sitting up on her knees, her legs spread on each side of his hips, she opened the first one. They could both feel the pressure of the moment, the naughtiness of the forbidden pleasures soon to come. Teasingly, she asked, "What are we going to do tomorrow?" He replied, "You know the answer to that. But first, let's enjoy tonight." They both knew what each other was thinking. and they smiled at each other in unison. Tomorrow would be another day in the basement with George, one step closer to filling cavities and doing root canals. It was their dream together, and the only thing between them right now was to enjoy the Hershey kisses, brush their teeth, and then get a good night's sleep. Because first-year dentistry school can be very demanding, and human dissections are stressful. Thanks, everyone.
Keith, I never know what to expect. I you got me with that one, Keith. First of all, so it's been 2 fucking years, huh? Excuse
And
me.
now we're all canceled. I'm part of the canceled group.
Yeah, we are all canceled now, Keith. No, that was Keith, that was very funny. I did not see the punchline coming. I had an anticipation that there was going to be a swerve somewhere, but I did not see that punchline coming. And that's great. That's like one of those jokes where you put enough distance between the introduction of the joke and the punchline, right? Where like the person listening loses track of the clue that would have let them know like what the punchline was going to be. Anyway, Keith, that was it was very funny, very enjoyable story as usual. And man, and that's not your cat? How is that not your cat? I have spent this whole time just assuming that that was your cat. Is that just a picture of a cat you found somewhere?
Yep.
Wow, shit. 2 years.
Yep.
And I'm only
2
now
years. I
finding out
appreciate
that's just some random asshole's cat.
I always thought it was Keith's cat too. I don't know it. The cat, it reminds me of Keith. It's now like the mental image I have of Keith, even though I've seen Keith. That's the mental image now, the avatar. So
Oh, I'm not sure I know what Keith looks like. He's a cat. He's that cat, exactly.
like I said, it's powerful. Like, Your Honor, I am not a cat vibes.
All right. Thank you, Keith.
Thank y'all. I
Happy
appreciate it.
anniversary, man.
It's been a great 2 years. Thank y'all.
Fuck
Here's
Thanks,
to
yeah.
2
everybody.
more.
Many
Hope
more.
So, I don't know why Keith mentioning 2 years reminded me of this, but next year or next week is going to be Halloween. So you motherfuckers better bring some scary stories or something next week. Anyway, in fact, Keith, the first time that you were here, was it a Halloween reading or was it just before the Halloween reading?
No, it was the Halloween reading
The
night.
Halloween reading,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a wild one. I think that one
Yeah, it
actually
was.
was on Halloween.
I think it was either Halloween or the day before. I think it was maybe the day before because I think Halloween fell on a Saturday that year. I think maybe someone else. But I remember
I
Mischief.
think it was.
it was
yeah,
Mischief night.
something.
Yeah,
It
was
might have
Mischief
been the
night.
night, but you're right. That's exactly what it was. It was the night before Halloween. In fact, I think we made some Mischief Night jokes or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, excuse me, I was trying to avoid doing that cough on Mike, but I couldn't quite make it. Colton's up next.
All right, I'm gonna move myself here. I just have one short story that I wrote going to a pinball tournament in Corinth, Mississippi, and I had a slug burger. Has anyone here had a slug burger before?
Are you talking about actual slugs? Like,
It's not actual slugs. So like
It's
back-
mostly filler, right? That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like 90% bread or something, and just 10% meat or something like that.
Yeah,
It's
like-
depression food.
like it looks, yeah, it's basically like back in the day, this thing costs a slug. So it was 5 cents. And it was like pork and beef. And so I just got on this topic of like food And so I just kept writing about it. And yeah, okay, so shit, let me get this link. I'm sending the link in the chat now. Sorry, I am so slow today. There we go. Let me know if that works for you, William.
Perfect. Perfect.
It'll work. All right. So this is shit, let me get my weed ready too. This is a Slugburger Symphony, 3 forks, a passion spoon, and a side of fluff screamers. Whatever God wants is fine by me. I've had the very best life. I have tasted beauty. John Paul Larkin. This gay nurse who was doing rotations at this hospital was assigned to shove his hand up some guy's ass to remove some stuck poop. The patient was very constipated. So the nurse gets ready, puts on his gloves, applies a lubricant, and shoves his arm elbow deep into this guy's butthole. Suddenly, the nurse's surgical glove breaks. The nurse's bare hand is immediately exposed to the patient's internal butthole shit and raw butthole insides. The nurse quickly pulls his arm out of the patient's ass and loose butthole poop geyser blasts across the room. The constipated man is shitting broken glove remnants out of his butthole with incredible power. So much so that a rubbery glove bit slides out and hits the nurse directly in the dick, causing him to black out. Eventually, the mess was cleaned up and the patient was sent home with some muscle relaxers, while the nurse had to throw away his new watch because it smelled like rotten asshole. This one lesbian I knew had her own personal poop sock, but it wasn't a poop sock where you put the sock up to your butthole and carefully aim your poop into the sock hole. No. She used this big, ripped up black sock to wipe her ass and butthole, and she would wash the sock in her washing machine or sink so that she could carry this poop sock with her on the go because she did not like the feeling of wiping her butthole with any kind of toilet paper. It disgusts me that you exploit people's trauma as your own writing. Write about your own shit. Get a life. I dropped some tomatoes on my shoes at work because I thought there were carry-on beetles inside of them. I haven't cleaned the mess off my shoes in the last 3 days. Do I fear the colonization of my corpse? No. Let me carry these buckets of blood. I'll pour them into a bath and drown myself. I'll dissolve slowly as the audience from Bill Evans' live album, Waltz for Debbie, claps for my demise. The leaves of fall are the colors of our bruises. I practiced screaming the other day, punching my steering wheel until it made gay little beeping noises. I thought about you. If you're ever shucking corn, be sure to start by grabbing the ear by the silk, the little pubic hairs. From there, split the husk downward to the butt like a banana peel. And then, lastly, be sure to jerk off the cob a little bit to clean off the leftover scraps. Did I tell you that I finally figured out what the acronym on my dad's green and yellow hat means? Well, the AFI-CPD stands for the Association of Feed Ingredient and Cottonseed Product Dealers. My dad was more involved with the cottonseed side of things, yearly crushings and annual numbers and so on. He just got the hat from a conference in Chicago. But there was one guy named Barry who worked at the AFI-CPD, and he was a local legend. Barry sold hay bales to farmers during the winter so that livestock didn't starve. He was really good at distributing the hay quickly and providing quality service to his clients. Unfortunately, the other distributors and competitors became jealous. They ended up creating a Brooks the Gay Hay Trader website to make fun of him, but Brooks took it as a compliment. It just made him work harder. Your heart is candlelight and cactus spikes. Did you know that if you microwave a maggot, it smells like well-done steak? You can put a pinky rat in formaldehyde after you've cut the tail and head off, and the little clump will look like an abortion in just a few hours. Stop the propeller. This guy named Ned was an X-ray tech for almost 40 years. His wife was the longest working medical helicopter pilot in North America. She retired after 37 years of air ambulance service, right around the time Ned retired. They were both tired of working. They put in their time. Ned says he started to breathe differently when he retired. It almost felt like time travel, like he went back to those cool summer mornings in July of '75. Ned thinks about riding his motorcycle to his first training day at the radiology department. Everyone in the elevator said, once you see the body of someone who crashed on a motorcycle, you'll rethink your decision. But 35 years later, Ned still rides the same bike, and his wife still supports his decision, even though she airlifted plenty of half-dead bikers through the skies during their marriage. Hell-bent on being knee-deep in the clouds of heaven, we now belong to the age of Charles Fourier's fifth apple. I log into my bank account. I see that all of my money is gone, all because of my addiction to claw machines and Black Lives Matter donation drives. The OnlyFans content creator buys a new ring light that makes the cuts on her thighs pop out like flayed bubblegum. Can you watch a blue jay claw a robin to death? Some people can. I might have to close my eyes. A teacher watches a student Google, "Can I die from lead poisoning?" The student then opens up a tab for Panda Express. He types in his order and is about to pay, but he doesn't. Instead, he opens another tab to get onto YouTube. He searches Panda Express mukbang and then proceeds to watch the mukbang side by side the unpaid Panda Express meal. Taste no evil, smell no evil. Once Ned retired from work at the hospital, he went on a vacation down by the Gulf of Mexico. His friends took him out on a pontoon boat and anchored down near a sandbar. Life was all about sand dollars and seashells. After being out on the water all day, Ned became dazed and mistakenly fell off the boat. Ned landed directly on his head and didn't surface immediately, so he was pulled up and rushed to the hospital. Ned wasn't paralyzed or anything, but he lost his sense of smell and taste. People often ask Ned, wouldn't it be more sensible to eat cheap food and drink cheap beer since taste and smell don't matter anymore? I mean, you can eat anything now, even the things that you didn't like before. Ned laughs because he is no fool. He is not completely detached from his passions. If I didn't like eating something before the accident, why would I want to eat it now? I like eating buttermilk biscuits and Pueblo sloppers. I like drinking whiskey and Diet Coke. I changed for nobody but myself. Besides, it's all a consistency and texture thing, really. Ned also mentioned that he has to eat food deconstructed, taken apart. When you taste food by itself, in its simple, non-complex form, you aren't blindsided by hidden flavors or unexpected ingredients. You have control of what's in your mouth. You know what's there, and you taste what feels good, if that makes sense. And I think this allows you to swallow confidently. I guess it's more of an appreciation for the squishy form of a tomato slice or the comfortable crunchiness of a piece of fried chicken. I mean, my mouth conjures up a feeling that is beyond simple palate reactions. I feel this humbleness chewing on something head on, going through the meal piece by piece. It's a rejection of this codependency for orgiastic consumption. You know, something like that. I like to think it was easy for Albert Fish to write that letter to the mother of Grace Budd, the natural fascination and familiarity with the taste of young tenderness. A boy or girl's behind is the sweetest part of the body. His desire to kill and eat Grace is pure, believable. I choked her to death and then cut her in small pieces so that I could take my meat to my rooms. Why is it so hard for us to write about the bad parts? Cigarettes, stained wood paneling, curly baby hair carpet, pictures of faded family members and lost comfort. Celery and mustard is eating disordered brain. Celery and peanut butter is eating disordered rehab. Pin down the pain and make it beautiful. Investigate the difficulty and frustration, the narcissism for the sake of pure antagonism, the fracturing of personal spectacles, this prolonged celebration of stupefaction, whatever, sexual impropriety. I watched you become every vowel I write, pure projection. You are pain diluted through symbolic transmission, enhancing the sound of my heartbeat, driving my forehead into concrete. My headphones blast heavy metal. My fingertips go numb. Something washes over my shoulders. Sense deprivation never felt so good. I ignore you because I don't want to tell you that I love you. Instead of looking you in the eyes, I gnaw off dead skin and spit out chewed up flakes like dipping tobacco. Sometimes I really am just like my father. Let's look at the lion statue in my backyard. It's cracked in half. We can take his head and split it open further. Look inside. The lion has no innards. They've been replaced by spider webs and glue, an empty husk. Do you really mean the things you say? How often do we repress the venom in our strikes, to shock rather than to confess? I tried to write about my abuses with confidence. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Even through intoxication, I still see their faces, your face, in my sleep. The day before I stopped drinking for good, my mom and I got arrested when we got into punching matches with the blackjack prostitutes and security guards at the Tunica Casino. We eventually were handcuffed and transported to the Tunica Sheriff's Department. There, I sat in the lobby talking to the desk officer writing up my case. He made a few jokes about my mom. His coworkers laughed, so I decided to fight the officers holding me in my chair because I sincerely believed that they deserved it. Pay attention to those fine details. Be sure to wear steel-toed boots. Order the gin and 7 with a splash of roses. Make her feel special. And don't forget to run away when you light up a fuse. My body is a rocket. I remember my roommate Jake in college stopped taking his lithium and he started to tell people on campus that we were going to leave Earth soon. He assigned roles to people in his classes. He told everyone he was the captain of the ship. He told his girlfriend that she was going to be the engineer. He told his history professor that he was going to be the first officer. And then he finally looked at me and said, "Your body will be the spaceship. You will be the vessel. You are the chosen vehicle for my dreams." Smoked chili salt. Zest 13 lemons and dry the lemon zest in an oven at 225 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 to 30 minutes. Once the zest is dry, place the dry lemon zest into a bowl. Mix with 2 cups of sugar, 2 cups of salt, and 2 cups of smoked paprika. Mix all of the ingredients together and store away. Hey, don't worry. It's okay to laugh. I used to get beat up as a kid a lot. I even got locked in the closet and tied to the bed a few times so that I would behave. I'm serious. It's okay to laugh. Hey, look at my finger. I almost cut it off at work making soup today. Sliced my knife right there below the knuckle. Cut through my lotus tattoo. I couldn't feel it. The cut is yellow now. The bleeding was gnarly as fuck. Almost as gnarly as my nipple tattoo. Check it out. My palm floats over a strung out flame that shares its glow with flashing primary colors coming from a nearby plug-in strobe light. Red pulsating handprints trapped underneath your skin, green hills stretching over our hanging heads, and blue rivers slicing new paths down shaped legs and broad shoulders. Lady Liberty comes out to the pool in a rainbow bikini with 2 hot dogs stabbed onto her pink press-on nails, one dog on her pointer finger and the other dog on her middle finger. A girl with a gun for a tongue sees an undefined future that tastes of gunpowder and puke. Begin reanimation, regurgitation, remixing, remastering, and carving ancient stones to withstand any man-made barrel, any barrage of plush imagination, thus immortal. An eternity has gone by. A pale rubber band sits around my wrist. I stretch the band out and let go of it so that it smacks against my skin, making a permanent red line that slowly forms a circle, a red ring of death. I do this whenever I feel myself wanting to sin. Now, I know better. Yeah, and that's it.
Colton, wow, holy shit. So this is wonderful. Like, man, like as usual with your pieces, like there's this wonderful tension between like how the pieces are. Yes, hello, Mr. Bonds. Hi. Excuse me. Between the fact that the piece is obviously like very tightly structured around a theme, right? And the like the complete anarchy of how it kind of plays out like in motion. But what I love about this piece is so fucking sensory. Like you get at every conceivable, like you get at taste, you get at smell, you get at sight, you get at scent, but you do it in a way that's really fascinating to me, because just when you start to lean into like the grossness and the ugliness, and just when you think like just when our senses are being tickled in a very particular way, you make a sudden turn and you do it in a way that's convincing. Like I saw Mullane mention in the chat that she was hungry while you were reading about the fried chicken, the section about the guy who loses his sense of taste and smell, and he's talking about all the foods that he loves.
Mhm,
And it's like,
yeah.
yeah, I'm getting hungry during that part too, but I don't understand how I could possibly have the capacity to get hungry after what is probably like 3 of the grossest fucking paragraphs anyone has ever read at Misery Loves Company at the beginning. Like you could open with a paragraph that involves like the most scatological shit imaginable, and then just 5 or 6 paragraphs later arrive at some stuff and get people salivating. And that's remarkable. Like it's a remarkable testament to your skill as a writer, but it's also like a remarkable testament to just how short the human memory is, right? Just like, especially our sense memory. And I think that's what you really get at here. Like you get at just how ephemeral sense memory is by jerking us around to this extreme degree where we're experiencing like really vile, disgusting sensations. And then we're immediately at like nostalgic and comforting ones. And yet, like, our sense memory keeps track, right? We don't fall behind. We're not thinking about, well, I can't like feel hungry now because the most vile shit in the world was just flowing through my imagination 2 minutes ago. It's remarkable. It's remarkable, Colton. This fucking fantastic piece as usual.
Thank you. This piece, like, it was weird because it was, again, this real guy. When we were just driving down, he was just like, yeah, I have no smell or taste. And like, we were eating slug burgers and I just watched him eat it. And he was like, he ate the bun, he ate the patty, he ate the lettuce, and he had like a Diet Coke with him. It was just so weird.
Oh,
So I
really?
like, yeah. And so I just kind of asked him more about it and like, just tell me more. And then he just went into this whole life backstory. And I was like, God damn it, I'm putting another piece in this book before I'm done. Cause this guy is just God, you just meet some people and they just fucking just diarrhea of the mouth content. And you're just
Yeah,
like
right.
writing while you're driving. You're like, all
Yeah,
right,
you're
slow
trying
down.
to, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, it's funny how that is. Like you'll have these experiences, and it's like, well, can I log this quickly enough that I could actually use it? You know?
yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, thank you, Colton. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you.
I am not sure if we still have people on the docket because we had a. So, Sam has not resurfaced, has he? I don't think so. Okay. Sam did not come back. I don't think David, Rudy, you didn't see David come in at any point, did you? David Hay?
No, I don't think so. No.
Jan already read, Rudy already read, Gigi read, Keith read, Colton read, and Jordy, who I have here troll question mark because they came in and say, I want to read a poem next. And I was like, well, I'll add you to the list. And I got troll vibes, but then later they left and actually put the poem they were planning to read into the chat. So I feel bad for chalking them up as a troll, but they like the trolls. They should have been a little bit more patient though. So yeah, I guess I guess if anyone has a piece they want to read now, you can, or we can call it here. Oh, Adam, yeah, absolutely, Adam. And if anyone would like to read after Adam, just put it in the chat. If not, we'll call it after Adam.
Okay, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay. It's called Nine Finger Rebecca. She was white and fucked up. She'd had her share of county jails. She was poor as fuck and an alcoholic. She said some shit at a party and some people got up in her face. They were better educated. They hated that she was stupid and blue collar. One of them went to Smith College, so they gave her a little lecture. They told her to shut the fuck up and to listen. Listen for once, they said. They said she was born racist. She tried to tell them she wasn't what they thought, that she was raped in foster homes. She said she was abandoned. She said she got hooked on junk. She tried everything. She tried to say she was a good person. She mentioned her depression, the suicide attempts, the abortions, the streets, the cigarettes that various men put out on her. Before she got clean, the forced cam girl saga, the bullshit, but no one would listen. They wanted her to bend the knee. They wanted her to admit she was a Kardashian. but she was clever as a rat. As the insults were raining down on her, she got into the kitchen and found a little paring knife. Then she came back into the room and said, "Here's your reparations, motherfuckers," and cut off her finger in front of everyone. Becky was a class broad, but crazy. That's it.
Adam, I love this poem. I've read it through a few times. I don't know if did we publish this one? Every time you read a poem, I have to ask if we published it or not, but
I don't think so.
no,
I think
this
it's
is
just in the book.
oh, okay. I can't keep track because I've read your poems in a few different places a lot of the time. But sorry, I apologize. But yes, Mr. Bones, hello. But I love this poem. Ah, man, I love the psychology of this poem because you really get at like the tension between ideology and reality, right? In this poem. Yes, Mr. Bones, hello, yes. And sorry, Mr. Bones, you're throwing me off my game here, buddy. Come here. But yeah, you really get at the tension between like ideology and the sensation of a life actually lived, right? All the small and large internalized traumas, all the like ugliness and unfairness of living an actual human life versus the crass and silly reductive bullshit people will feed you when they're trying to convince you that you're the bad guy, right? All these cute little like ways we have of seeing the world and judging other people versus the awful reality that many people live, like, and how completely inadequate like fucking most ideologies are at capturing like actual human pain and suffering. And then the end of this poem is so beautiful because it's so deeply irrational on one hand, like why the fuck would you do that? But on the other hand, like so psychologically astute and real, like that desire to like hurt yourself some more just to prove how much you've been hurt, you know. I don't know, it's a great poem, Adam, and as usual, like you do all of this like in a really concise space. Like I spent more time rambling about the poem than it took you to read it. But yeah, it's a fantastic fucking poem, Adam.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Damien, I saw in the chat that you might want to read. Do you want to read, man, or do you not want to read? Totally up to you. Oh, okay. Okay. One of these days I'm gonna make you read, Damien, but I understand. All right, okay. So I guess
Wait, I can stall if you need time, Damien. Or rather, Robert can stall. Robert can read something.
Until after 7. I don't know what 7:05 is. Is that like 10 minutes from now? Because we can definitely stall for 10 minutes. But Central.
You're what, an hour behind?
Oops.
Pacific. Oh, okay.
Pacific. So
okay.
Let's see. So what is it? Is it, I forgot, 6, 7. Yeah, so that's only like 5 minutes from now, right? Or is it an hour and 5 minutes? I can't do math. Anyway, GG has something? Is that what I'm saying?
I have a piece from Jan that I can read out loud.
Awesome.
All right, I'm just gonna read this off of Twitter. The DMs on Twitter kind of fucked up the formatting, so I know. All right, buddy. Sorry, my cat's right here too. The title is in all caps: Autofiction about the time I shit my pants at work by Jan. It's about 4:43 p.m. and I'm at work. I feel something brewing in my guts. Oh God, I think, clutching my stomach, feeling my colon expand and contract. Oh God, not again. I duck out of the booth I'm in and ask who's at the front desk to cover for me while I take the Cleveland Browns to the Super Bowl. Today it's Hank. Hank is 76 years old, American Indian, his own words and legit. I've seen his tribal membership card, he's Chickasaw or something, and spends about half the day regaling me with stories about his days as an officer in the Navy back in the 60s and 70s. I want to say that I'm like the kid he never had, and that's why he likes me so much, but he has about 5 kids and double the number of grandkids, so I don't know. Hank, I ask, leaning out of the booth. He's hunched forward at the front desk, his reading glasses on. Hank, I say a bit louder. Oh, yeah? My stomach feels like it's being stabbed repeatedly. Shit is coming. I need to get to the bathroom now. Can you cover me for a minute while I use the bathroom? Yeah, sure, he says, starting to get up in his senior citizenly way, but I'm already halfway down the hall, bathroom key in my hand. The pain in my intestinal tract subsides. False alarm, I wonder, turning the key in the lock in the very specific way it has to be turned, which is impossible to convey to anyone who hasn't had to do it. I go into the bathroom and sit down on the toilet and, just for fun, start to take a leak. I stare at the stall door, contemplating why I feel deeply embarrassed whenever there's someone else in the bathroom and I'm taking a leak or loudly defecating. That's what bathrooms are for. All that and taking a nap. I strain. No shit. True to their reputation, the Cleveland Browns are not going to the Super Bowl this year, or any year. My eternal issue. I'm 23 and I have the bowels of a 63-year-old Jewish accountant. I purse my lips, making the Jim Halpert face, my sitcom brain nearing terminal condition as I mug for an invisible camera. I stand up, quote, 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 wash, unquote, 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 my hands because I'm nasty. I run water over them for 5 seconds and start walking down the hallway. I need to fart. That's when it happens. This fart feels different somehow. Special. Like a first kiss before my ass. I'm about 3/4 down the hallway when I realize there's a 50-50 chance I just shat myself. I take a deep breath, turn on my heels, and start walking back down the hallway to the bathroom. Go into the stall, pull my pants down, and lo and behold, shit. As Michael Jackson once said about being locked in a police station bathroom, there was doo-doo feces smeared all over the walls, and the smell was so bad. Imagine that, but for underwear. It wasn't exactly everywhere, but it was definitely a distinct brown smear somewhere a distinct brown smear had no right to be. I remembered my mom mentioning this to me after I shit my pants for the first time. Something about how it's called a skid mark, and that it happens to everyone. Brought me no comfort. I untied my shoes and slipped out of my pants, then gently kicked off the shit-smeared underwear. I tear off some toilet paper and try and dab the shit off, I guess. It's not working at all. I shudder and get to work wiping my ass. This takes a fucking hour. You have no idea how not designed our bodies are for shitting our pants. It gets fucking everywhere. The interior of my cheek, the borderland between my genitals and my ass. It was bad. This is confessional writing. I'm basically like Sylvia Plath or Bukowski. I go back to work. The office is empty. They left me here. That's Jan.
Oh my God. So, well, so one thing I suppose we definitely it wouldn't have been enough tonight if we just had one story about explosive diarrhea. I feel like when Colton finished, I was like, I hope we have more stories about shit. But no, this is, oh my gosh, for something that was written apparently so quickly, this is very, very funny and very sharply written. And it ends on such a note of like sadness, like not, I just shit my pants sadness, but real profound loneliness. Excuse me. Oh no, and just this like sense of like dread, even though you know it opens with the day I shit my pants. There's part of it where you're like, maybe Jan won't shit their pants, maybe they'll be okay, and then you just as just tension and dread throughout. It's very funny. Thank you, Jan, and thank you, Gigi, for your fucking Michael Jackson impression.
I was just about to say something about that. The fucking my there's dude feces. Oh, that fucking made me lose it. Oh God, it was so good.
All right.
God damn it, that was funny.
Does anyone else want to fill just a couple of minutes while we wait for Damien here? Yeah, Adam. Yeah.
All right, I'll just read 2 short pieces on the assumption that Damien is going to actually read. It's called Friday Morning, March 2020. Blaring Deo by Harry Belafonte to try and smoke my wife out from under the covers. I have the speakers set up at the bottom of the stairs and aimed up at the bedroom. It's my opening shot in the dog days of our private war. I'm on my second gin martini. Yeah, it's almost 10 a.m. Christ, what battles will there be today? What hills will I die on? Maybe today she'll get a lawyer while I'm at work. Things have gone downhill. Thank God we don't have kids. I'm ready to move on. I think I'll go back to my stag days where all my friends were women who were older and fatter and drunker than me. Are we at the 05 yet?
We are at 05, Adam. We are at 05.
All right.
Did you finish that? Was that the end of the poem? Or did you stop?
Yeah, that was the end.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Sorry about that. I think that was in the book too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was just you have another really great poem about a Bluetooth speaker that I think have you read that one here before, or have you just showed that?
I have not, and I don't actually, that's not in the book, but that was published by Bear Creek, and I don't even know if I have that poem accessed anymore. Like, I think
Really?
I wrote it in an email and sent it to Stuart.
Yeah. Well, you need to read that one sometime. That's a Christmas poem though? You should save that one for the holidays, I think.
No, actually, I'll do you one up. It's Thanksgiving, so it's closer in time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. When we do the Thanksgiving special of Misery Loves
Right,
Company, you'll have to read that one, Adam.
All right.
Thank you, Adam. Damien, are you ready to roll? If not, it's fine. I don't want to feel like I'm applying like excessive peer pressure here, but
The document's not really loading on my computer, so I'm just gonna have to possibly read this on my phone. Can you hear me at all?
perfectly.
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay. Well, fuck. Okay, let me scroll through a bunch of shit. I don't even know the last time I read, to be honest.
It's been a little while, a few months at least.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been a year, but
What's your ad on Twitter, Damien? I forget.
my at?
Yeah.
I think it's just Damien Arc.
Is it? Oh, okay. It didn't come up on the thing.
Yeah. Let's see here. Well, I'm under OK Donkey right now, but okay, this piece is called A Light. Trauma doesn't just mean remembering. It's also a poison that causes you to forget incremental things, like hot sand from a Galveston beach drifting from a child's hands. Somehow a memory appears like a hidden tumor, and I've been consumed again by the time I've located it. I ask you to clarify so that I know that it's real. What more have you hidden from me? Help me unearth myself. Do you not remember yourself in this picture? Do you not remember going to the Disney theme park in Orlando when you were 8, screaming wildly and holding my hand as we felt our bodies lift out of our seats at the Drop in the Tower of Terror ride? He doesn't remember anything anymore. Remember? You had the most adorable smile back then. When you were a little boy, you used to love sea turtles and had a plush doll of one that you carried around with you everywhere. Of course you don't remember. You were too young. I remember the confusion of being alone in the mall's bathroom and unable to figure out where my underwear went. You used to make VHS tapes of Yu-Gi-Oh!, Dragon Ball Z, and Courage the Cowardly Dog episodes. There's no way you've forgotten your favorite episodes, like when Eustace went to chop down the talking tree. Don't you remember how upset you were when your parents won't let you buy a Danny Phantom costume off eBay? The trauma erased everything, didn't it? I wish you could remember just a few good things. And suddenly, a decade and a half later, I remember everything, but the bad is still there. And it's so bad, it's so ugly. I'd rather go back to not remembering anything. That boy to me is dead now. Dee enters the tiny witness surveillance room. He turns his face to the left and stares confusedly at the painted, smiling children frolicking flower gardens. There's even a set of play toys in a basket. Am I supposed to take a doll and point at its privates? Do I thrust a finger into the butt part? Why does she need to ask me questions if nothing is going to happen to him? Everything has happened to him. Everything has already happened to me. Behind the woman interviewing him, there's a camera locked in a glass case recording them. Somewhere in the facility, an officer, a therapist, and another forensic interviewer watch the footage as it's being recorded. He is fortunate because it wasn't always like this. This will be the only time he will have to answer questions on this subject for legal purposes. A light above his eyes glides from left to right, right to left, left to right, left to right. Before the woman speaks, you can already hear the sound of snapped glow sticks, pop rocks fizzling on the tongue, the echo of basketballs in a gymnasium, mid 2000s rap and R&B blasting on the dance floor. She guides him with a calming whisper. Think back as early as you can, before the mall incident. Locate the earliest memory you can of feeling safe, somewhere you felt genuinely happy. The Kroger grocery store had a drop off for little kids so parents could shop without having their kids running around the aisles. When mom left me there, I glued myself to a Bugs Life game on Nintendo 64, which is still the most challenging fucking game I've ever played. Its soundtrack somehow following me even to this day. It makes me think of artificial grass, karate lessons, pink lemonade. I also see Grandma and Grandpa's house in Iowa, desolate from the world, from its own city, street, and hidden behind the trees. A piece of my flesh was buried there in the front yard with a seed, and now the tree is as tall as the house. When I am dead, that tree will be my ladder to heaven, inside the pith, through ironclad roots, dirt that gives birth, a bridge of white light from Iowa to Poland. That is where all my souls from the past and now are held. My hometown is being transformed into luxury shipping containers, a fading memory. It's too late, falling rain. Those brief moments of happiness we had as children at great grandma's farm, picking tomato plants and eating fresh cherries, all seem unreal given everything that's happened to us now. Is this death? Is this really what I wanted? This body at this time? Can I start over again? Hey mom, it's okay if I spend the night at Jay's house for the weekend? Okay, thanks, ma. Ever since I was a kid, I have wanted to be someone's pet python. Hi, I'm Dee. Nice to meet you. Oh, cool. Where are you from? Oh, I'm sorry. I heard all about that on the news from my parents. I'm glad you're okay and safe and alive. Is your family okay? Like nobody was hurt by the storm? Hope you can find a home soon. Do you like it here so far? I'll be your friend. I'm sure you'll make a ton while you're still here. Wish it were always a sunrise in autumn and that my body was transparent. Instead of speaking, my voice was a vibraphone. So look at him, stop. He's so sexy. I wonder what he looks like naked. It's not fair. I know he's straight. There's no way. Everyone is straight. I'm such a freak. I shouldn't be thinking like and looking at a friend like this. If he knew, he wouldn't be so nice to me. I want to know his everything, not just his body, but he's thinking about at night, what his home life is like, what scares him most, if he had been touched as a kid like me. What if he already knows and I'm too scared to do anything, but he's already forgiven me? You're going to turn ugly and go insane when you get older, and your parents will think you're a burden, but maybe you could just show me your everything and I can make it all right. I wonder if we'll ever see each other again after this. I'm writing this inside of a pain box, which is encases an obsidian sphere bouncing aimlessly. I've been told that the sphere will shrink over time, but it seems to feed off my decomposing flesh. Only now do I realize that I visited this room when I first tried to take my life. They say there's a way out that doesn't involve death, but I refuse to believe it. Death is easier. If I could bring myself to do this one last act. You said that giving birth to me was what saved you from another suicide attempt. Sorry, don't care. You should have never given birth to me. Peak selfish move. I have no duty to live for anyone, nor do I owe you my tortured existence for the sake of your distorted comfort. People kill themselves, whatever, end of story, moving on. Your love and dad's, it felt like being hated for the longest time. I'm sorry, but I can't be one of your Oprah Winfrey survivors. Don't be such a hypocrite. It's not like I hate you. I do love you, but don't act like you didn't see this coming. It's a miracle it didn't happen any sooner. What other options do I have in life? This is it. I'm hanging myself, stepping in front of the train tracks, eating the pills with liquor bottle, cutting as deep as possible. Time is non-existent in this aquarium. When I'm there, I see the visitors vanish, and all I see are the sea otters, jellyfish, and you. I step outside and imagine myself falling into the Pacific Ocean, the jewelry box of Indra's net. My hometown is transformed into a soupy lake of cattle blood. My hometown massacred, set on fire, buried under bullets and train tracks. My hometown of gray concrete, rogue angel militia, suburban Raytheon test subjects, warheads under the floor beds, magazines raining in the classroom, a quiet rape under the child's bed sheets. Make my death into some shitty poetry. My hometown a suburban breeding ground for eugenics, genocide, and pro-suicide campaigns. The vice principal that jerks off to little girls, cuts off your faggot pride shirt, and throws you into a pit of wooden spikes. My hometown threatened by the Super Collider project, a ghost town submerged under an artificial lake. Once upon a time, deep in the heart of Texas. You've lost your hands, they've cut out your tongue. How will you continue to pray? A weeping fucktard of an angel jumped from the high school rooftop before it was raised to mountains of cow shit. It's been 10 years. You drive back home after spitting on it and has been swallowed in an ocean of boiling gore. Rain nuclear weapons upon my hometown. Pummel it. Don't stop until it's erased from the map. Ensure that every last fuck evaporates and keep going until the crater is the size of Red Fort. A light burns a hole through his retinas, right to left, left to right. As it moves faster, the memories reel slower, and the color transforms to sepia and monochrome. With another whisper, she asks, "Why are you crying?" His eyes gaze away from her into the camera, through the children painted on the wall, into a mirror reflecting a different figure. Globs of neon green from lava lamps swirled around his eyes. Being with him in bed, touched so gracefully, felt so good. But now the magnetic forces between him and others felt like moldy slime, cobwebs, a million threats. In the interviewing room, time is non-existent, and the woman waited patiently, knowing that the longer you allow someone to dwell in the silence, the more the thoughts will canker and consume. There's a ghost living inside of me, and I think I'm going to be haunted by it forever. As soon as the last word escapes his mouth, she immediately responds like an auditory hallucination. Like the static creature living inside of the TV, she changes the subject by interrogating, "What is it that you want to be more than anything?" "The purest angel." "But they don't exist, do they? My parents don't believe in them or God." He removes his black yarmulke and squeezes it. "Vampires exist, though." Was Riley the vampire? There are others too, like me. He made me into one, but you're all monsters too. It's because of you that he's not here to protect me anymore. None of you will ever understand. It's as if she saw him as a ball of yarn with a million knots that she could untangle and fix, but each time she tried, the string became thinner or split into smaller pieces. The only way to put together the torn apart fragments would be to tie more knots. Each question mark brought more confusion and contradictions. "Maybe it's you that doesn't understand yet." She tied one piece of the string from the end to the middle, then tightened 3 knots upon each other. The ball of yarn was tangled around him. "He didn't love you. What he did wasn't love. Don't you understand that adults aren't supposed to do those things to children?" His parents loved him but did nothing. They really spoke to him and were never around. Riley didn't love him, but he gave him gifts and held him all the time. Love must be absence, betrayal, sacrifice. Love as magnetic distortion. What if they all loved him? What if none of them did? Does it really matter? Does love matter if it doesn't save the people you care about from hurt and death? "If I could go back, I'd make sure I had done it right," he muttered, hiding his face from the dancing lights like snowfall in Iowa. That made him feel more trapped than anything else. The suicide attempt, I mean. Would have been best if I had just died right then and there. Would have liked to have been killed because that's what I think I deserve. If your childhood is taken from you, I think it ruins the rest of your life. You just can't get it back. There's nothing more than I want than to start over, to be an innocent fucking child forever. I want to live in that fantasy and eventually lose my innocence on my own twisted terms, not the way it fucking. So that's why I wish I were dead. She leaned over him and handed him a set of Polaroids. It was her way of saying that if he had died right then and there, these are the things that he would have never witnessed. And as painful and ugly as life can be, you can never continue to experience glimpses of happiness you never believed possible. He turned them over and tossed them into the basket of kids' toys before arguing. But all of those things that you see as blessings came with their own cancer. That sister that I held the day she was born, I never got to see her grow up because it was too dangerous to keep in the house. That guy right there, he's brain dead now. He doesn't even remember who I am anymore. And him, we were going to get married. Now he's dead. John was my everything, my only sense of hope, and now he's gone. Don't you fucking get it, you stupid bitch? I seen and felt enough to know that whatever might come in this future isn't worth it. None of this bullshit existence added up to mean anything. So yes, I wish I had died back then. There was never any hope. The beaming red light from the camera vanished. He was worthless evidence on a tape for her to review later. Dee was still tied up from the memories he couldn't manipulate. As he was attempting to free himself, she stood from her chair, flicked a switch, and left him in the room to vanish into the abyss. The place where kids played with dolls and stuffed animals and plastic greens to chew on while they explained to a stranger each part of their body that had been violated. All the lights in heaven shattered and exploded into black holes that eviscerated the angels, and the sun became a frozen dark orb, unable to shed its light anymore. And that's it.
Oh my God, Damien, that was an incredibly powerful piece. I love the way I love the way you constructed it, because you start with those like really vivid sensory details from childhood, right? Like all of those memories are captured so perfectly, like that whole like mosaic of memory that you spin out there. Even while you're saying like trauma has robbed me of all of this, it's so vivid and so tangible and so there. And then later in the piece, in a way, you revisit all of those images and distort them in a really gruesome, ugly way. You like the return trip to that same landscape of memory, and it's just absolutely barren and desolate and destroyed. And those two moments in the story like speak to each other so profoundly that you really capture a sense of, I think, what a lot of people feel upon arriving to adulthood, although with less like pain and potency and vividness, like that sense of childhood being lost and being replaced with something just desolate and awful. And then it keeps going from there, right? And you have the final third of the story is just like this kind of bleak unraveling of everything, this kind of bleak you know what I'm trying to say, this kind of bleak moment where it all comes together, right? And there's this realization, and there's this moment of hope for hope almost, where it's like you're confronted with the childhood memories again, and there's this moment where it's like you could almost grab onto them, right? And arrive at some kind of like, well, I'm gonna digest the pain and move on, and there's still stuff worth living for. But you move beyond that to just complete darkness, right? Literal fucking darkness at the end. And it's a heartbreaking piece, man, but it's very, very good. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you for letting me read.
Thank you for reading. So I think we were going to call it there, but Jordy came back. Jordy, you had a piece you wanted to share, and then I guess we'll wrap it up.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So I have two pieces. I'm sorry. Can I do two pieces? Or is that just one?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Knock yourself out.
Okay. So the first piece, it's called The Dark. It talks about depression and mental illness, mental health. And it goes a little something like this. Oops, whatever. Okay. It goes, I cry alone in the night, so you don't have to see my tears. And I'm the most unstable when I'm controlled by my fears. I hate how my body is, so I avoid these mirrors. And I'm not so happy. Things aren't always as they appear. The fog is slowly gone, and it's becoming all so clear. The version of my happy self is no longer near. Feeling this way for the entirety of a year, so I listen as the sadness whispers things in my ears. I rip myself away into a lonely, empty hole, and you take yourself away as I sell my whole soul, digging into this depression like a crying little mole. I fall down an eternal fireman's pole. Driving on this road alone, it's already 3 a.m. My headlights try their best to push through the dark I'm trapped in, but the ghosts of the past stand ahead of my racing car. They creep and they haunt and keep my thoughts and me from going all too far. My emotional comfort runs full out of gas, and I'm stuck in the cold, wondering how long I can last. So I bang my head to get the demons out upon the shattered glass, hoping I won't survive this mental bash. I hike down this path and I arrive at the witch's altar. I bow and worship the sadness that has become my martyr. She whispers in my ear, why have you done this? And what have you done? Why couldn't you have made the right choice for once? So I scream and I sob and I fall into this hole. My breath leaves my chest as I hit the warm-filled soil. I see the stars and they tell me I don't deserve my soul. And let me tell you, it's real fucking hard to get out of a hole when they take away your rope. They sell happiness all wrapped inside a pill. So I keep writing these these poems just to feel something still. This can't be happening. No, this can't be real. But I condemn myself to a place myself I have sealed. So I sprint into the dark to shrivel up by myself. I look at all these people, how we're all unkempt. Secrets from my past come rising to the top. And one day I'll throw myself off the ledge in order to make it stop. And there's still joy, all wrapped inside a pill. A unique character, a consumption will slowly kill. Just swallow it down before you break the rules too hard. And stay right there, stay right inside your own backyard. I want to leave this place and never return. I want to leave this place, take my past and let it burn. I want to leave this place and leave no rock unturned until one day I can make it stop. Until one day I can make it stop. Thank you.
Did you had a second one, or was that?
Yeah. I'm gonna do the second one in a bit. Give me 1 second. Okay. This one's called It's Getting Bad Again. I think I understood it was getting bad again when I started to do everything sitting down. And I think I understood it was getting bad again when a smile became more difficult to produce than a frown, when the room didn't light up whenever I was around, and when the tears came silently, not creating any sound. And I think I knew it was getting bad again when my own internal clock stopped ticking, when the itching for joy became my new favorite pastime, when a laugh with my friends cost much more than a dime, and it was more like an act that I put on with a grinning mouth that isn't even mine. And I think I knew things were getting bad again when my bed went from being a resting place to being a tomb, when I couldn't look at any of my friends in the face, or when I started to assume that I wasn't wanted or needed, when my head felt haunted and I pleaded. And I knew it was getting bad again when my pen felt too heavy to pick up and write, when the same damn haunted dreams played in my head throughout the entire night. So I rip out my hair in hopes that I'll be able to see clearly, in hopes that those I love dearly will notice. Do the empty patches on my head express it to you? Or should I keep silent and internalize what I'm going through? Or should I continue to release my empty screams into nothingness with tears flooding down my face? Tell me, if I'm so important to you, then why am I so easily replaced? I think I knew it was getting bad again when the fog came back. The crows flew away and the darkness started to attack. When a simple conversation became exhausting and I avoided all human contact, and I began to wonder if I'll ever get my permanent smile back. Thank you.
Jordy, wow, man, just incredibly passionate delivery. Like, you really sold every fucking line of that, man. That was just so passionate. I also, as somebody who's struggled with depression for basically my whole fucking life, the emotions you're describing in those poems are ones I know very well, and you describe them very, very eloquently and very effectively. And I also, though, want to say welcome to Misery Loves Company. I think this is your first time reading, right?
Yeah, it was my first time.
Yeah, welcome, man.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you here. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, the first one, I love the cadence of it and the way you carried it with the momentum and stuff. It was really, really powerful. Reminds me kind of like Hatebreed, or like like a band, like one of these older bands. Like the Hatebreed song I was kind of reminded of is what is it called? I think it's like Looking Down the Barrel of Today. The one that's like, once had a shotgun to my head, they said I wasn't worth the bullets. And it was really kind of like heavy song, but like the delivery was fucking great, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, you killed it, man. Thank you so much for reading. I think we're gonna end it there because well, okay, hold on. I need to screen share for just a second. Rudy, can you explain something to me? Just a second, if I can. Can you explain to me what? So here's the list for tonight, and Rudy has put picture of Terry Crews. He's like, fuck with you, in the list. And it's a picture of Terry Crews he's put in the list. Rudy, can you explain to me why Can you explain this to me?
No.
Fair enough. This has been Misery Loves Company. Who do you, no, okay. Fair enough. Okay. So I guess Terry Crews wasn't going to attend tonight's reading. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. This has been Misery Loves Company. Thank you to everyone who read tonight. Just lots of really awesome, passionate readings tonight. Excuse me, and I want to apologize again for coughing every couple of minutes here. But yeah, just amazing, wild time as usual. Thank you, everyone. We do this every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Anyone is welcome to come and share their work. Anyone is welcome to come and just hang out. And yeah, that's it. We tweet out the link from our Twitter account at Misery Tourism, usually a couple of minutes before we get started here. And I will leave the Zoom meeting open if people want to just hang out and chat or whatever. But yeah, that's it. That's it. Fuck it. Have a good one, guys.